another video. This video will be my first book review. Really quickly though, I really appreciate everybody for subscribing to this channel. Your support for this channel means a lot to me. So if you're new here and this is your first video of mine, don't forget to hit the subscribe button down below. And if it's not your first video, or if you've been kind of watching my other stuff, like, check it out and then hit subscribe. One of my favorite things to do is to read. Nowadays I don't have a lot of time for it or the attention span anymore, but when I was younger I would go to the library and I would get like books, a bag of books, and I would go through that bag of books in like, I don't know, like a week or two, and I would read every chance I got. And now that I'm older and have kids, it's a little bit harder to concentrate to read, but I still try to make it a habit to at least read before I go to bed, or if I'm trying to go to sleep, I'll read the current book I'm reading, because I have ebooks too, so I'll read that. I'll also, you know, if I'm reading a physical book, like I have to actually make the time to read the physical book, but I still love it. It's just making time for it. My hope is that for this book review and all the future ones to come is that the books that I read will inspire you to read and to take a chance on this, and to take a chance on this book and the books that I introduce to you in the future if you haven't heard about them or thought about them and haven't read it. And this is my first time really doing a book review, so I hope not to give you any spoilers, but just to express what my thoughts and what the book is about. So I'm gonna be looking down at my notes, but just so I can make sure I hit everything. I'll try not to make this video long, but this book is really good. It's good, and I'll tell you my issues with it too. So here we go. So a little bit about the author. The book is called Kindred. It's by Octavia Butler. She's no longer with us. The genre that she wrote in would be considered modern day science fiction. So for a while, in the time period that she wrote, like, her books weren't getting recognized, but unfortunately it wasn't until after she passed that her books started gaining traction. And the book Kindred will also now be made into a series on Fox. So let's get into this book, right? This novel takes place in 1976, but I know that can be kind of a turnoff if you're not really into like historical fiction. But it's a really good book, a really good storyline. Like, it's really good. The main character is Dana, and we're introduced to her and her husband on her birthday. Dana, on her 26th birthday, she's celebrating, and out of nowhere she gets transported back to the 1800s to help a boy who is drowning. And so first she doesn't even know what's going on. She just sees the woods and sees this kid like drowning and all that stuff. She does help him. That's her first time going back. And then she travels like back and forth, and she doesn't know when it's gonna happen. It just happens, and before it's too late, she doesn't, in the time in her real world in 1976, like, time barely moves in her reality. But when she transports back into time, each time she goes back, the characters in the 1800s are years ahead of her, or there's a time in the story where she spends like a lot of time because she doesn't know when she's going to go back. There's certain things that have to happen before she's transported back, and once she figures it out, she tries to, you know, especially when her life is in danger, like, she tries to make it happen before like it happens naturally. But there is a period in the book but when she finally gets back to 1976, it's only like later that day, you know. It's not really no time has passed. So each time she transports, though, it does get longer and longer. So the first time it was a little bit of, you know, maybe a half a day, and then she goes back and it's a little bit longer. So each time she goes back, it's a little bit longer that she's there. During her time in the present, she spends a lot of that time trying to recuperate and explaining everything to her husband, Kevin, who is a white man. So she's a black woman married to a white man, and he's trying to like understand, like, why are you being called back to the 1800s? Like, and she's like describing everything and, you know, how it is, and he's like trying to like wrap his mind around like that time period. So when she goes to transport again, he also ends up going back with her because at one point because he was holding on to her. So, but I'll try not to give any spoilers, like I promised. And Dana experiences firsthand the harsh realities of slavery and what our ancestors had to endure. She also doesn't control when she goes back in time. This is controlled by her so many greats grandfather, who she happens to meet every time that his life is in danger. So it's so crazy because how it works is when his life is in danger, it seems to be that she comes, you know, but she doesn't know when his life is in danger. So she never knows like when she's going back. But when his life is in danger, she goes to him, and then when her life is in danger, she gets bumped back to 1976. She doesn't piece it together right away, so me telling you that might be a little bit of a spoiler, but it's not telling you the storyline. Her grandfather, the little boy that she is tied to, he also owns the plantation that she ends up making friends on and getting to meet everybody. And like they own the plant. His father owns the plantation and owns slaves. So it's like, I mean, to think about it, it's like mind-blowing that, you know, some of us that ancestors were like on like plantations and everything, like, and were in slavery. Like, it's mind-blowing that some of those relatives could very well include the people that own the plantation, you know, like, and own slaves and everything else. Like, it's just crazy. Like, I don't know, sometimes reading books like this kind of puts me in my feels a little bit, but you know, I don't know. Like, I kind of feel like after so long, like, you get tired of seeing like slavery stories and slavery movies and everything, because I know there's more to us as a people than slavery. Like, our history doesn't start with slavery. So it's just, it kind of, I don't know. I was kind of tired of it. I was kind of like, I don't know if I want to read it, but I read it, and I just kind of, you know, I just try to like appreciate, you know, the work of fiction that she put together, which she did include some realistic, you know, things that happened in the past too, but you know, overall it's a good story. Okay, so that is what the story is about. Hopefully that was not like mumbo jumbo going in one ear and out the other. So now for my take on it. So this is what I think. Okay, so this novel was a page turner for me. I can appreciate the realistic storytelling of how slavery was and how it was for blacks. It put in perspective like how much our ancestors truly had to endure. If you start off with the audiobook, it starts off kind of slow. It does pick up and then narrated on Audible. That's where I read the book on Audible, or started listening to it on Audible. Does a good job impersonating the characters. It wasn't until I read the story for myself though that I actually got into what was going on, because you know, I could actually, like, I don't know, because sometimes when I listen to audiobooks I kind of like zone out or tune out, and yeah. But anyways, so although I got into the story and although it was a page turner, I have questions. Like, and it's, you know, there are some things that are not explained in this story, and as much as I like this book and the story, like, there were so many questions that I wanted answered. There were so many things that I wanted to be explained as the story went on that wasn't. Like, what is it about her 26th birthday that made, you know, all of this start? Like, what was it about it? Like, was it like, you know, some type of, you know, family thing? Family, like, you know, I don't know, every woman on her 26th birthday something happens, you know, type of thing. Like, there was like no explanation why this birthday, why now, why when she, I mean, you know, why? There was not, you know, there was nothing. There's nothing to explain, like, why all of a sudden she has to be transported back to save her great, you know, like, there was nothing there. So that kind of left me perplexed. And now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, it still bothers me. Like, why don't we know? Why did you not tell us? And then what is her connection with her great granddad? Like, I kind of mentioned that in the whole, like, what was the significance of her 26th birthday? Why was he able to pull her from her present? Like, what was the connection there? Like, what was, you know, what was happening. Like what was the tie? What was the soul tie there? Because, you know, to pull somebody from 1976 back to 18 something, like why was that connection important? Like we don't get that in the story. And then is her time travel. Oh, this is a spoiler alert. So if you haven't read the book, skip past this part of it. So, but is her time travel finished when her grandfather is gone? Like once he dies, you know, is it like, is she done traveling back to the past? Like, does that end the whole time travel thing? I mean, I don't know. Like, it doesn't explain. That goes back to the second question. It doesn't explain the connection between her great grandfather and her. Like, why are they connected to each other? It doesn't even explain in the present day, like what could possibly, you know, she wasn't like hunting for her past. She wasn't curious about where her family came from. Like she was just having a normal life. And then all of a sudden, here we go, we're 26 and now we're going back in the past. So questions for you, the potential reader or person that has read this book. How would you be changed from living in the past? And I say that because, you know, Dana goes through living actually spending years in the 1800s. And, you know, she's married to a white man in the 1970s. And even though he went back with her, he knows it's reality. But like, he was there forever because she couldn't figure out how to get back. But then when they do get back to the present, like, when she goes back again, like he doesn't go, you know, after that. So like, but how would that change you as a person? You know what I mean? Like, would that change your outlook on dealing with, you know, other people, like, you know, white people? Like, would that change your outlook in dealing with them? Like, how, I don't know. Like, would it make you more angry inside? Like, I don't know. And then my other question is, do you think she was able to go on as life is normal? Or needing some type of therapy? But then even if she got therapy, would they think she was crazy and try to commit her into like some type of psychiatric hospital? Like, because a lot of things happened to her, like for real. Like she wasn't just protected by this glow or, you know, in this little bubble where nothing could happen to her. Like things happened to her when she went back. And to come back into reality and knowing, you know, walking around with visible proof that these things happen to you, like, I don't know if you can go on as life is normal. Like, would you constantly be in fear that, hey, at any moment I can be transported back there or to a new time period? Like, I don't know. Dana had to bite her tongue a lot in the story, and she had to learn how to survive in that time period. And I commend the character and Miss Butler for like writing her in the way that she did, because, you know, a lot of us always say like, oh, if we were back then, if we were there back then, we wouldn't let XYZ happen. And Dana, I think she kind of at times forgot that what period that she was in and how it was like for, you know, blacks. And so the way she like talked, you know, they looked at her funny for the way she talked. Not only black people, you know, that were in slavery, like they looked at her funny, but also white people looked at her funny too. Like, oh, you think you too good, or, you know, you must be some uppity, you know, person or whatever. Like, you know, she had to learn to like, because when they viewed that she carried herself different or that she already knew how to write and all this other jazz, like they would say a lot of things to her to kind of like bring her down a few notches, and she oftentimes had to like hold her tongue. And like the only character that she really talked frankly with was, you know, her great grandfather, which at you know, his name is Rufus. So when she met him as a boy, like she started saying to him like, you know, don't call me XYZ, don't say this to me. And it ended up coming back to bite her a little bit in the story. But yeah, definitely check out I'm not going to say any more other than that. That's some things that, you know, just food for thought that, you know, if you like, just to like think inwardly, like, wow, like to live in that time period, to come back into this time period, like it would be such an adjustment. Like, and then I don't know, like you would be changed forever. Like, do I recommend it or not? So here we go. Can we get a drum roll? It's a good story to read, although at times I felt like I felt frustrated because I didn't feel like the author like really explained enough. I wanted more meat, backstory. I wanted, you know, I appreciated the time travel and all that stuff, but give me some substance. Like, tell me like what is the connection? Make up something like, you know, I don't know, like anything. I don't even care. Like just, or maybe it was predicted that, you know, the so many generations after will about, you know, one of them will like, you know, time travel back to the 1800s and he would have to face his own descendant for treating so-and-so like this, or, you know, something. Like, give me something. I need substance. Let's see. And then the answers to my questions could have enhanced the story. If you like historical fiction with some time travel, then you'll like this book. I mean, the time travel wasn't extravagant. Like, it wasn't like, oh, she went in space and then went down, or there was a secret portal in her house. Like, it literally wasn't like that at all. Like, it was almost as if like you fainted and then woke up somewhere else, you know? But I say this book is okay for like young adults, like 18 to 24. Like, I'm 34, so I felt like it was a good book, but like there is like, you know, rape is talked about, and I don't know, it could be a bit of a trigger if you know, have been abused or anything like that. Yeah, there was a lot of like, you know, mature descriptions, but I am looking forward to watching the series. So hopefully, you know how they always adapt like, you know, books to television and all that stuff. So I'm hoping that they keep the meat of the storyline, but then kind of add in some of those things too that I have questions about. This is my first book review, and I really appreciate you, especially if you stuck around this long to hear my mumbo jumbo of a book review, my first one. My next review is still up in the air, but I did read a book called The Yellow Wife by Sadea Johnson. That was one of those books where like you have to, it's another book that was, it's a historical fiction. It's one of those books where you just have to be like, you know, just kind of be like, okay, that's how it was back then, you know, you get your emotions in check and appreciate the story for what it is. But it's a tough one to read, but oh my gosh, I have so many opinions about that book. So, but yeah, so I'm going to do a review about that one too coming up. The book I'm reading currently is called, it is called The Good Nurse. So if you watch my channel, you know that I'm a nurse. And I saw this book at Half Price Books, and it kind of caught my eye a little bit. It says a true story of medicine, madness, and murder. So yeah, I'm only 6 chapters in right now because it's like one of those I have to make time for. I'm going to do a review on this one. I'm also reading this book called Layla by Colleen Hoover. I heard that was pretty good. It's starting off pretty good. I just started reading books written by Colleen Hoover. I read her book Verity. Oh my gosh, like Verity, that book is freaking mind-blowing. First of all, okay, I won't even get into Verity right now, but this is my first book review. So if you like this book review and you like the idea of these book reviews, give this video a thumbs up, and yeah, that lets me know. Let me know down in the comments if you read Kindred, or if you read Verity, or if you heard of the book The Good Nurse, or if you read Layla by Colleen Hoover. I'll put the link down below for Kindred. And then as far as like which I'm sorry, it'll be an affiliate link, so I do get like a small commission like off of the purchase if you choose to purchase it through Amazon or however you know get it. But if you get it through Amazon, then I will get a commission. It won't change the price for you, but it supports this channel. So yeah, so I'll put the link down below. I like reading, I like discussing books, so let's do this. Like, I want to like commit to reading books, writing these reviews, or recording these reviews, and then also like talking about it, like having like a really like healthy discussion like in the comments. So yeah, so let me know what you think, and I will talk to you guys later. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe. I didn't mean to point at you.